So this is proving to be much more of a pain in the ass than I expected. I'm not getting very far with this. I get like melted and re-sealed. I screwed up over here. It is Tuesday morning, so here is how everything looks now that's all dried up. So before work, I'm gonna go ahead and do some measuring to make sure I know the length that I need for the poles that are going to hold up the tables, because they sell, I think, like 2 different lengths online, so I want to make sure I get the right one. Also want to do some measuring up here as far as like how long everything is and how wide, so I can start planning out what kind of wood am I going to be looking to get. Do I want to get, big plywood boards and put up here? Do I want to get long, more like strip kind of things that'll go along it? So yeah, I want to plan that. I don't know if I'm going to get to it really this morning, but I would like to start hooking up those hooks to be able to then use the bungees to get these kind of out of the way. Only issue with that is this wall. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it because there's nothing over here yet, and I can't really put the hook like here, because I guess I could do it that way. The bungee would just go like around the board and then attach the hook. So I don't know, maybe I'll end up doing that. I don't know if I'm gonna get any type of hook stuff yet this morning. I'm just gonna go ahead and move these out of the way so I can pop open that side with the tools, get the tape measure out, put some of that stuff away, and yeah, and I left a bunch of stuff out here the other day because I was doing the sealant on the floor and everything was wet from raining, so I didn't want to bring it in and put it on top of this stuff. So hopefully if that ladder is dry and all that wood is dry in that box, I'll get that back in here. So yeah, I'm going to do that measurement, and then that way I can order the stuff for the table and start looking online at what wood options I have as far as what's going to work up here, because I could either do long things that go, from here connecting to all these beams going down, or I could do kind of like more like panels kind of thing. It would basically connect, from here going to, let's say it just goes halfway onto here, and then one going from the other half on here to there. Kind of like what I did with the, the studs on the wall here, how I have, this connect to, the stud, and then connect to the other half. There's the break, then connect to the other half and going down. So yeah, I'm just kind of rambling here, so I'm going to go ahead and do those measurements. Probably won't really do any other filming today since all I'm doing is measuring. So I will be back whenever I'm working on something. Alright, it is Saturday morning. A little bit later than I wanted to start getting work on stuff, but I went to Nissan today and got these installed. They were supposed to install them almost 2 weeks ago, but I went there for my appointment, and that's when they told me that they didn't actually have them in. So, so now they're installed, which is nice because I can leave these windows, decently open. So even if it's gonna rain, I can still get airflow going through here on a hot day with a fan. So yeah, so I picked up a bunch of pieces of wood to start working on this ceiling here. This is just the wood that goes, there. Also looking to possibly hook up some of the hooks that, hold open the thingy there and hold these up along the wall. I don't know if I'm going to put the hooks for these on yet, because what I'm thinking is I accidentally just dumped some paint and stain water on my feet when I was working on just rinsing out those paintbrushes, so I'm kind of letting that dry before I step in here. But when that wood's up there, it's probably gonna go, I'm guessing, pretty much right along that edge there, from what I remember. So I'm not gonna really be able to have a hook, in that part of the wall, the wooden part that's on there right now. So I'm thinking I might have to put it along that edge that's currently still just like metal with the insulation hanging out and stuff. So I might have to wait to put the hooks up until I do the wood going along there. And then on this side, I'm gonna have the same issue over there as well as over here, because there's still nothing right here. This wood doesn't even extend all the way across the seat. You can see there's a gap there, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. I could put the hook over here somewhere, but I'm not really gonna worry about just putting that one hook there. It's not really serving any purpose. So if I am doing hooks, it's gonna be the hooks to hold these things open. That way it's easier to get, you know, in and out for the tools and stuff like that. Main job for the day is working with this wood. I went with I think it's like 1/4 inch, but they list it as like 5.2 millimeters for some reason. It might be a little bit smaller than their 1/4 inch, but it was like way cheaper than the 1/4 inch of the same size. These are 2 foot by 4 foot. So the other ones that were 1/4 inch were like birch, or, you know, they were some kind of specific wood, and they were like 3 or 4 times more expensive than this. These were only like $7 each piece, which for right now is like really cheap compared to some other things. So I got 8 of them. I don't actually need 8 for the ceiling, I don't think, depending on how this exactly measures out. But I'll have enough to definitely go all the way across, but I need to make sure basically that the piece goes from, you know, that edge, wherever it's going, and then I didn't measure how far apart all these beams here are. I just know the overall distance, so I need to go from there. I'm not even sure what I'm going to have it hooked to over there, to be honest. I didn't really think about that. It has to go from there over to wherever it connects, you know, the longest it can go, and connect to something and connect to that, and then have another one connect to that, however far it can go. You know, if we can only reach here, well, then I'm going to cut it back to there and start the next piece. So, yeah, so that's the game plan for today. So I'm going to somehow dry this paint off my feet so I can get in here and get some work done. Okay, so I'm in here. I held up a piece trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I was thinking of having it come down here and attached like the edge of this, because most of it is open other than like right here, and then right here gets a little bit blocked because of this. But this is actually quite a bit lower than these, so it created this weird slope where it wasn't even going to really be like easily attached to this one. And then also there's the issue of it curves down here and then it, you know, completely stops there. Same thing on the other side. So what I'm thinking is just gonna attach it at these spots and have it just come over, and I think I might just glue it, put some of that glue that I have on there once everything's all set and in there, like the insulation's in and everything. Then just put like a line of glue going along the edge of wherever it, you know, connects up here. Yeah, that's all I can think of. So that's what I'm gonna go with, I guess. I also have to figure out this, because I'm gonna be putting that thing on there. So basically the ceiling goes across this, and then you have to make a hole for it, and then you put that piece of plastic on there, basically blocking off so you're not sucking in insulation up into this, but also just makes it look nicer. The only thing is, online I can't find any guide on how to really do it, because I mean that part is easy. You just slide that up in there and you figure out how much you need to cut off of there, and then you just put the screws in there. I have to figure out where the hell I put the screws for that thing. But you put the screws into the ceiling and then boom, you're done. But the issue is I can't find any guide on how to figure out, once you put that wood up here for the ceiling, how am I gonna know where to cut the wood to make this hole? So I think I'm just gonna basically just make like a small hole and then just keep making it bigger and bigger until eventually I get it all to fit properly. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to do some measuring and figure out where I need to cut for this one, because obviously everything's just a weird shape because the way that it is. So I know I need to do some cutting, and it seems like it was hanging out, I think before when I had up here, like over in this zone. So I'm gonna actually have to cut it down to this area, and then that way I can connect the next piece going down that way. Alright, it's already getting pretty warm up here. I'm surprised that thing isn't turned on yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. Okay, so this is proving to be much more of a pain in the ass than I expected. My arm's already getting tired. I don't even have a single piece up there yet, so I keep holding up there, tracing out what needs to be cut, taking it down, cutting it, putting it back up there. Yeah, I keep having to cut so like this whole corner because when I push it, you know, up forwards, this part is like hanging out still, so I need to trim down that side so it can all be flat. And then it's up against the wall here and down there, but all in the middle is kind of hanging out, so I have to keep trimming those parts, and I'm trimming around this stupid thing too. Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass, but I'm gonna go out and do some more cuts, and hopefully pretty soon it's gonna actually fit up there properly, and you can get at least one piece installed here, and then maybe work on just doing some insulation for a bit, and then get back to dealing with the wood. Okay, so the first piece is fitting. I only have one screw in it right now, but it's actually so light that it's staying up there, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some more screws in here. So you can see I cut all along here, so it goes along about that halfway point, so I can screw in here, and the next piece can be screwed in next to it. Yeah, I got this screw in, so I'm gonna go ahead and put something over that end along this one, and then same thing along here. And like I said, then it's gonna be time to figure out some insulation as far as how I can stuff some stuff up in there. I do have more of that pink stuff that I use for the floor, as well as some more of the wool stuff they use on the wall, so I'll figure out what's gonna work best for that, and then it'll be time to work on the next piece. Alright, so that first piece is now in there a little bit more securely. Got 4 screws in it. Tough thing with screwing this thing in, as you can see on these, there's tons of holes. There's these rectangle ones, circular ones. So like this one, I couldn't see exactly what I was doing. You could tell, you know, that it was lined up with that bracket, or whatever the hell you want to call it. But then when I went to screw it in, I screwed into just nothing. It was just one of those holes. So then I moved over here and luckily hit something. So I'll end up filling in all the holes that I end up making with that putty stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some sort of insulation to whip up here. Try to stuff it back there the best I can. Get some over here. And then while I have it in this position, I might actually go ahead and just work on cutting out the little bit that I need here for this fan piece, since I can actually see what's happening. And then that way, when I'm putting up the, the next piece, unfortunately, while I'm working on the next piece, I'm really not going to be able to use the fan for a little bit, because it's going to be completely blocked other than this little bit here, which even that isn't even really over the fan part. Yeah, so then I figure once I get that next piece up, I'll be able to see where that's cut out, and then I can kind of just continue on from there, cutting around. Alright, so I think I'll do... Actually, now I'm thinking about this. How am I going to cut this? Because I can't cut it right here because I'll end up destroying the fan or the roof of the van. I think I'm going to have to take this out and cut it. Which means every time that I'm going to be working on cutting this fan, I'm going to have to take the piece back down, cut it, put it back up. Son of a bitch. Alright, well, I'm going to do something. I guess I should work on cutting it before I work on the insulation, since I'm going to be taking it in and out. Alright, so this is that plastic thing. So I made that cut going around there and just slid this up there. It is real tight up against this light here. So once I trim this down, so it will actually, this piece will be right up against here. I'm hoping that'll look better and work better. Yeah, so that's fits there. So I'm going to take this back down, work on getting that insulation put up in there now that this piece is good to go, and then it'll be time to do the next piece. I guess I might as well just do the pain in the ass piece and do this one next, and just make my way across, and then that way once I get past that, I don't have to worry about, I mean I do have to cut around these lights and stuff, but I don't have to worry about cutting around the fan, at least then. So yeah, that's what's going on. Okay, so I went with the wool insulation and just poured up in little pieces and just kept pushing it back there, and so those spots are all filled up there, at least as far as I can tell they are. I do think I need to add some more screws here because that insulation I think is adding some weight to it. It's kind of pushing it down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a few more screws. And like probably like one here and then one wherever I can estimate the middle is there. And then it'll be time to work on the piece that's going right next to it where that fan is. Okay, so this cut is gonna be kind of a pain in the ass. I was originally thinking just pushing the wood back behind this. But then if I go up that high, there's going to be this opening here where all this insulation is just hanging out. So I think I'm actually going to have to cut where the wood's going to lay here and then cut going around like that. So on top of having to cut work around this fan, I'm also having to cut work around all of that. Alright, so this piece, and we got into the fan part, and it's been a pain in the ass. So I got it to where it fits around this, and I got it all lined up, and it's like, right, I'm good. All I gotta do is just, you know, measure the length, cut that end off, boom, and then I can screw it up there and start working on figuring out how I'm gonna cut around that fan. And then I looked over here and I realized that everything matched up over here, but just like the other one, because of the shape of the van, it's not just perfectly flat, so this part was hanging out. So now I'm slowly trying to work on what I need to cut over in this zone to make it so this part actually is flush up against here. So yay. So I was almost done with this piece until I realized that, so now I'm still working on it. Once I get that flat, I will then measure out the 34.5 or 35 inches, whatever it's going to be, make that cut, get it screwed up there. And once I have, at least the 4 basic screws up there, I can work on figuring out where I'm going to be cutting for that fan, take it down, make the cut, probably put it back up there, make more cuts. And then once everything's all good and I can fit that piece of plastic in there without, getting stuck on wood or anything, then I can go ahead and just start stuffing insulation in from this side. I'm going to have to put that plastic up there temporarily while I do that to make sure so the insulation doesn't keep pushing out and dropping onto the floor there. Yeah, so getting closer. It's just a pain in the ass because I have to keep, just holding the wood up there while I work on everything. And this one, I kind of just gave up on trying to trace it while holding it. So I just kind of put it up there, see where it is or isn't lined up, and then just take it down and just go from memory when I make the cut. It's just too much of a pain in the ass. Okay, so I was so focused on that light and then eventually working on the fan and all that. There's also a light right here, so I have everything cut to size now other than the fan over there. So I put one screw in. I'm gonna get the rest of the screws and work on the fan situation. And I'm also gonna have to work on cutting out this area for that light that's under here. Okay, so I got my 4 screws in there, and then what I did, I held that up there with that part going in here, and then I just traced around that part there. It was kind of a pain in the ass to trace because I was holding it with one hand and tracing with the other, and it's all flexible and stuff, so it's kind of moving around, but at least it gives me a good starting point to work with. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do some basic markings on here because I don't know how far back this goes, so I'm going to go ahead and just mark out where it is this way, and then when I take it down I can go ahead and measure, and I know that this wood basically starts right where these bolts end, so I can measure like, okay, how many inches down from there do I need to go, and just do the cut from there. So yeah, I'm going to take this down and start doing that. Alright, so after the first run through cuts of these, this looks pretty awesome here. I don't know how that works. I guess I have to have the key in to turn that on, but there's that. And then this over here is pretty close, but I do have to do some more tracing and a little bit more cutting because it is not quite fitting, which I kind of expected because it was a pain in the ass to trace. I'm gonna have to do something over here. The plastic is definitely gonna help. I'm worried there still might be some insulation trying to escape since there's nothing back here now, because I had to cut off that little bit that was over here in order for that to fit the plastic up there. So I'm gonna have to figure out something for that. But if right now I'm just gonna work on doing another trace out of that and figure out what needs to be cut. Okay, so this is how far I've gotten. You can see it's in here past the wood, going all the way around. The issue is this light is putting pressure on it, pushing it this way. So I'm having a hard time getting everything to line up here to get that all the way up into the slots where it needs to be. I'm hoping I can get it to fit up there, because I don't know what else I would really do about this light here. There are bolts, I think, holding it in, so I mean I could always take that down if I had to, but then I would also have to disconnect wiring back here and all kinds of stuff. So I'm hoping I can just get it to fit up here without having to deal with all that. Okay, I'm not getting very far with this. I did get this portion in, but everything else is still just out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a break, and then come back out here and fight with this some more, I guess, because I don't know of any other options at this point. Okay, so I finally managed to get it in here. I couldn't take this down because there's insulation up here, so I had to actually cut that upside down along this edge, and then I also trimmed back along this edge and wherever this edge. Yeah, freaking dust went everywhere. I had to put on those glasses there. I'm sure there's just sawdust all over my face right now. So it's in there. Now I need to figure out how much I'm supposed to cut off of here. They didn't really, again, the instructions on this part are very vague. There's not a lot online about it. It's typically when people make their videos or blogs, whatever they're doing about this, once they get the fan in and it plugs in and works, they're like, okay, it's done. They don't really go over this step. So I guess I'm gonna basically just make markings on here with like a permanent marker. Try to be careful not to get on the wood. And then I'll know, once I get this out of here, I can measure that and see how much is sticking out, because I don't want to cut along where I make those marks, because I need to I'm going to need to measure the distance between this mark that I'm going to make and down here, and take that measurement and go from the top part that's up in there by the fan right now and measure that down, make another mark, try not to mix up those two marks, and make that mark going all the way around, and then cut that off using the saw. Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest pain in the ass parts about this whole fan install, honestly. I mean, it's definitely going to make it look a lot nicer, especially when I have it a little bit more cleaned up. I don't know what got on there. Is it stain or what the hell it is? There's like dirt on there or something, but it's definitely going to make it look nice. And again, it's going to cover up this hole so there's not insulation falling out of here or anything. Alright, so I'm going to grab a marker and start making some marks and figure out how the hell I'm cutting this. Okay, I cannot wait until this fan is done. So I was doing the tracing and I noticed that over here, that's there, and then this wood is way up there. I'm guessing that's because there's no insulation up there right now pushing that down, kind of like this one's getting pushed down. So before I do this, I guess I am going to have to stuff some wood insulation up there to get a better idea of how far down that's going to be, and then I can retrace it, because I already traced this side, and then get this out of here, cut it, hopefully fit it back up there, get the screws in, and then I'm never touching this again. I'm going to be so excited when it's done. Okay, so I put all the insulation there, and now just from eyeballing it, it seems like it's a lot more evened out there. So I retraced all that junk. I'm going to go ahead and pop this out, measure it, figure out how the hell I'm supposed to cut this, and then hopefully get back in there, put those screws in, wherever the hell those screws are, I have to find them, and be done with this fan. Okay, so I've never seen something like this, but I went out there, did all that measuring, cutting, and so I cut all the inner parts here first, and then after I had all four sides, then I did from, the corner to the corner, going on all four, and then it didn't come apart, so it was like, somehow it like re-sealed itself. Like it melted and re-sealed along some of the edges. So I had to like rip it apart. I mean, I cut it with, the saw that I cut through metal in the van with. So it definitely was cut. It just then, like, I don't know if the heat from the saw, like, is so much like friction, if it like partially melted it, and that because I didn't immediately, pull it apart because I was still cutting the other sides, like re-sealed. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and hopefully get this up there. There's a bunch of bumpiness on the edges here
from from cutting it, 2 from, I guess, it like melting. So hopefully it can kind of fit in there. I'm just ripping that off. Yeah, hopefully this fits, and I found those little tiny screws, so I can just do those and be done with it. Okay, so this is how it came out. The screws are all in there. So I had to take this down with those bolts. I don't know if you can really see that. But there's a bolt on each side in order to get this back up there, because this part was getting stuck on here, and this part wasn't, getting stuck originally when this piece was bigger because it was way down here. But when I was trying to push it up past this to get it up against the ceiling here, it wouldn't go. So I took this down, and then I got it all the way up there, tried to put this back, but then I was having issues with it hanging way down. So I ended up making little incisions there, first with the saw, and then I just made them bigger with a knife and got it up mostly back to where it was. It's not perfect. You can tell it's kind of angled here now that I'm looking at it. It's kind of going off in this direction rather than straight, but it's pretty good. So yeah, so it's there, it's running, obviously, and it's all on there. So now I'm working on this little piece to go over here. I'm working on getting that up there with insulation. Once I have that piece in, this whole back area will be basically sealed off because of this piece here. So I don't have to worry about insulation coming out or anything, so I can go ahead if I want to put that, glue or some sealant going along there so the insulation doesn't come through there. Maybe add a bit around here because there's a little gap there, and also probably should put something in some of these little gaps because I know like insulation's popping out of there and stuff. Yeah, and then this whole back section will be done, and then it'll be the next section. And I'll have to measure to see how far this next board can go, how many beams it can go across. Yeah, so all right, I'm gonna get back to cutting this and getting that in there. Okay, I screwed up over here. So I measured, and its biggest point was a little under a foot. So I cut out a foot wide piece going like 35 inches down. And I've been trimming there and there, so that way this middle part will actually meet up with that. But now, as you can see, there's a gaps there. I don't know what to do about this, so I'm gonna have to figure out something. Either I don't know. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. We'll find out. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I'm just gonna keep pretending like that's not there, and cut it however it needs to be flat up against the wall there, and flat over there. It's actually pretty close. Actually, probably is already there because I need to trim off that edge anyway. And then whatever gap I have over here, I'll work on just filling it in with some little piece, get it glued in there. And this area, based on that random piece of tape, which I think was what I put out there a long time ago when I was measuring out where the cabinets would be, according to that, if that is what that's there for, this would be covered up by cabinets anyway. So I'm not super worried about it. I'll just fill it in, and it will still be functional. It just won't look the best, but it hopefully will be covered up anyway. So whatever, let's just get this piece in here. Okay, so somehow this is what I have ended up with. There's a big ass gap here. I'm gonna try to get insulation up in here while still holding it, I guess, and then put some screws in here. Maybe I'll drill the holes first and then put the insulation and then put the screws in. And then once the screws are in, I'll work on filling in this gap along with doing the rest of the sealant and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so I put the screws in so that way I know where everything's gonna go back once I get the insulation done. This one, I don't know what the other side looks like, but apparently the whole thing is just one big hole until you finally get out the ear, so I'm gonna have some serious filling in to do with that wood putty crap. But the other ones are okay, so I'm gonna grab the wool insulation, take these screws out, and I don't think I can really like bend it down if I take out just like these two to help stuff it in there, because it's gonna be a pain in the ass trying to hold it the whole time while stuffing stuff up in there. So I'm gonna figure out some way of getting that insulation up in there and getting the screws back in, and then sealing everything up. Okay, almost at the end of the day, and just everything is going wrong. So I stuffed this full, apparently stuffed it too full of insulation. I left this one connected, everything else I took out so I could have room to put stuff in here. Went to put this one in here and was tightening it up. It was getting close to being, back where it was, and then the whole screw popped through the freaking wood. So now I have to somehow get that screw out of there and put a new screw in here, and I guess I'm gonna have to take some insulation out. Okay, so this is what we have going on here. So this piece was actually one that I trimmed off of one of the pieces anyway, and this piece ended up somehow, when I was working on that insulation and stuff, it shifted, so it's a little bit of gap there now, and now this piece, I don't have a free hand, but that piece is sticking out over this piece. So I just took this piece and put it right next to it so it covers everything up, and I'm just trying to hold it in place. I don't know how long I'm supposed to hold it before it'll be dry enough to kind of just do its own thing. Hopefully soon, because my shoulders are sore as shit from today. So I'm waiting for this to dry, and then I'll grab that sealant and do some stuff, and then I am going to be done for the day because my shoulders are done. Okay, so I am actually out of the non-self-leveling sealant. I still have self-leveling, but I can't use that up here because it will just trip all over the place, obviously. So I'm going to work on just making sure this freaking glue actually sticks. Seems like it's doing really good down here for the most part. But over here, I don't know if there's just too much glue to where it's actually like wet. It's taking forever to dry. But yeah, so I'm keep pushing that, and then I have the wood stuff to fill in all these freaking holes that are all over the place. So I'm gonna keep dealing with this and eventually get to that. And then I'm going to just order some more sealant and deal with that. Okay, so I filled in all those holes, and I've been slowly holding this. Stop holding it, stop holding it. And it's getting better and better at holding up there, so I think I'm pretty much just done for the day with this. I think it's going to hold enough to at least stay up there. It might drop down a bit and leave a little bit of a gap, but that's alright, I can just fill it in. It is hot, I am tired, and I am done for the day, so we'll see what I can do tomorrow depending on how crazy sore my shoulders are after this. Alright, it is Sunday morning. I think this is pretty much it for this weekend. So you can see, it came out pretty good. There's a little bit of a gap there, but once I get that sealant in, I'll just fill that in. Otherwise, holding up there nice. But I mean, pretty much like my whole body is sore. My neck is sore from constantly looking, up at the ceiling yesterday. My shoulders, my arms, my back. So I'm just like, you know what? There's no way. Even if I did have the energy to at least start the next section, I really wouldn't want to do that because I would want to go all the way across, kind of like I did on that one, so that way the insulation isn't falling out one side. So I think that's pretty much it. And then sometime this week after work, I'll work on getting those initial hooks in, I guess. I have to figure out what I'm going to use to kind of strap from the little bench thingy to attach the hook. So I'm gonna figure out how high that is. Does it need the hook need to be higher than where that lands because of how tall these pieces are, stuff like that. So I'll work on that, and then next weekend I will work on the next section and hopefully feel less terrible, but probably will end up working all day and then the next day feel like crap again. But yeah, so that's going to be it for this video. There's no way I'm spending a whole nother day with my neck turned up like that. So I'm going to end it here, and I will see you guys on the next episode.